and Farida Neksar, as well as May Young, who will moderate this discussion. Mary Akrami, she is the director of the Afghan Women's Network and has been engaged in the fight for women's rights since 2001. She's been recognized internationally for her courageous work on numerous occasions. Mahbouba Serash is a board member of the Afghan Women's Network. She has been a tireless advocate for women's rights, pushing for women's participation in the Peace Jirga as well as in the Peace High Council. Farida Neksar is the director of the Center for the Protection of Afghan Women Journalists and has won international recognition and awards for her tireless and courageous work. And our moderator for this event is May Young. She's a celebrated investigative journalist and is currently a reporter at Vanity Fair. She has received international recognition and awards for her work on Afghanistan. And I think maybe her best known work is her month-long investigation into the MSF hospital bombing in Kunduz, Afghanistan for The Intercept. So welcome everyone, and May, I'll give the word to you.
Hello, thank you so much for having us here. I'm thrilled to be moderating this excellent panel. Just some housekeeping. I think what we'll likely do is have the panelists, it will be a pretty unstructured, free-flowing conversation where we discuss in part, how they began their journey, and we'll get some updates on, the latest on the peace process. And then we will open it up to conversations from the listeners for the last 15 minutes of the hour. And if you do have questions, I believe you are able to drop them directly onto Zoom, and then I will go through them and hopefully we'll be able to cover them all. And so, without further ado, Mary, I think you can come online now. And I believe the rest of the panelists we're waiting on. There are some connectivity issues in Afghanistan, which is to be expected. But yeah, Mary, are you there?
Yes, dear. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, amazing. And so you mentioned that your colleague Mahbouba is on her way, and hopefully will be joining.
She's trying to join us.
Okay.
I think the issue with electricity or something.
Okay. I mean, I used to live in Kabul as well, so I'm very familiar with this problem. Mary, I was hoping that you might be able to situate the listeners a little bit by telling us a little bit about your personal journey. Where are you from in Afghanistan? I mean, I know a little bit about you because you're a minor celebrity in Kabul, but what was home life like? How did you first get the idea that this is the work that you wanted to do? What made you think that you could do the work that you're doing now? Could you just walk us through a little bit of your own personal life as well?
Thank you so much. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to all friends those that they are joining and watching us. First of all, I would like to thank the Raft Foundation for organizing this event, and it is my great privilege to be at this event. I just simply introduce myself. I'm Maria Cremie. I'm one of the women human rights defenders. I start my journey of activism since 1997, while I was for a while a refugee in Peshawar, Pakistan. And then through there, I start my work in 1999. I have established with support of a group of women, an organization called AWSDC, Afghan Women Skills Development Center, that we will serve Afghan women refugees by providing some literacy classes or basic English classes, computer classes. And besides that, I was also member of Afghan Women Network. That was I start my work as activist. And 2020, I think in 2001, when the first Bonn conference was happened, I was participated on behalf of Afghan women from the civil society, and I had that privilege to be there. And then after that we came back to Afghanistan, and the organization which I has established in Pakistan, we got support to provide the first shelter for women at risk in Afghanistan. That was the first shelter was established in 2003, which we have provide protection for women who have who have faced domestic violence or was like under forced marriage, and because there was no other safe place for women when a woman have access to her rights, because 2001 was the vision of day entire for all the world and especially for Afghanistan, that everyone was talking about women's rights. And these poor women, when they knew about their rights, but they didn't have access to that rights due to different challenges and difficulties at home, or when they have run away and there was no space or place for them. And the first shelter which we have established, it was 2003, that we have supported women, and we have registered the shelter with the women, Ministry of Women Affairs, and working closely with them. And as well, beside that, I was working at community to support women economically, that to how to promote women's rights at the community level. Then we have found like there was a lot of issue like conflicts between the communities, and they didn't allow women like to go to one center, although they were family, but due to different conflicts, different challenges, and we have started and we have designed the first community peace building in 2005 in Parwan provinces, which was, we had the privilege as a women's lead organization to provide support for women to participate to that community peace shura. Like we have 50% women and 50% men for the first time. Because even sometimes when the men say that, oh, how these women come, and it was our reaction that to explain them, look, that we come far away from Kabul or from different part of the country here to teach you or to work with you. When you don't allow your daughters, your sisters, your mothers, whatever, then it is not easy for us. Then our family also won't allow us. And that was the best approach that we have used, and we have succeeded to have like 50% men and 50% women at that community, which was the first time.
Wow.
And
Mary, that's fascinating to hear, and I think it looks like Farida has joined us, maybe also from Kabul, I'm not sure. And so I'd love for her to say hello and catch up. Hi, Farida. Are you able to mute yourself? Oh, I think she stopped her video. Oh, okay, great. Hello.
Hi, you, and hi, Mary, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. I'm sorry for a bit late, because I was trying to connect it with my laptop. So now I am with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Frida, I was just asking Mary, I was hoping that the panelists could begin by telling the listeners a little bit about their background, where they're from in Afghanistan, but also how did you begin on doing this work, the work of working on women's rights in Afghanistan? I'd love to have you share with us a little bit about how you began.
Thank you very much. Actually, my background is journalism. As a senior journalist, I work in different national and international organizations, BBC and other local. I am the co-founder for a prominent independent news agency, Pajwa Kassan Independent News Agency. Then I had run the WAC News Agency. I have been as a commissioner in the Election Commission of Afghanistan. And recently, since 2017, I am running an established organization for for the protection of Afghan women journalists by the name of Center for the Protection of Afghan Women Journalists. As you know, the conflict against journalists specific for women journalists. So we according the women journalists everywhere, they suggested that they should have something to as a focal point that they could share their problem challenges, and so we are as a bridge and as a focal point for all women journalists for the capacity building, for the advocacy, especially for the defending their rights and legal rights, and especially for the supporting the women journalists.
Great. And I should also mention, Frida, I'm a huge fan of IWPR.
Yes. I try to be very short. Of course, actually, we since we start working in Afghanistan. Before that, I was as a supervisor in GIZ in Pakistan. Besides of that, I was as a freelance, and since there, I was as a freelance with IWPR and BBC, and I wrote some news for IWPR and reports and BBC packages about women's rights. And IWPR, actually, I was as a staff reporter, then as a producer, then as a media trainer, and I trained about 2,000 journalists around Afghanistan. And as a senior journalist and a producer and media trainer for the Impact, the Canadian organization, I established 3 radio stations with the cooperation and financial assist of the Impact in 3 provinces, in Herat and Kunduz, and also in Mazar Sharif in 2003. So since there, I am working. I mostly wrote investigation and feature story about human rights in particular, and also about women's rights, and due my interest. Then since I become busy with the management and the leadership, so I am running this organization, and I'm trying to be as a supporter and protector for women journalists who need, because mostly, unfortunately, we will come to the point maybe later, but senior journalists left Afghanistan. I am the only since 2002. I was under threat. I suffer a lot. I was kidnapped. I was threatened. I was like money violence risk. I accept this risk because I come to this position today. That is why I know how women journalists face problems and challenges during their work, and in particular as a reporter. So the young generation, which recently they are joining journalism, they need some support, and also besides of that, the courage. I am the owner of 5 international awards and prizes from America, and Canada, and Germany, and so these awards is not something useless, because we really try to show that we are really working in a very tough situation. Yes. So even we hope, that's why we fight for this, for this defense every day, for this, that we should have press freedom, and also we should, in such situation, we need to protect them, we need to support them, that they should continue their professional work. And also, besides of that, we should work and advocacy for the women's rights through the media.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to go into it more. It also looks like Mahbooba has joined, and I'd love to hear from her. Hello. Okay, great. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. Mahbooba,
thank you so much. And I'm sorry, it took a while to kind of set myself up, because I'm using a completely new computer. That's why.
Yeah.
Something else other than my office. That's why.
Collective faith these days. Mahbooba, I just had your colleague Mary and Farida as well just share a little bit about what, how they began their work, and I was hoping you might be able to do the same for us.
Sure. I'm not a long speaker. I'm a women's activist, and I started in 2003. I came back to Afghanistan. I was born and raised in this country, but then I had to leave in 1978 when the communists took over. But then I came back in 2003. And since 2003, I have been next to my sisters in Afghanistan and working with them very closely, going through all of the changes, all of the achievements, all of the heartache, and everything that has been happening in Afghanistan. I've been witnessing it with my sisters, and I should say with my daughters, because I'm so much older than them. And we've been seeing it until today, that we've kind of reached an era that things are going to be decided one way or another. And we just, as the Afghan woman and as the woman of this country, we would like to have a voice and the path and how do we want it. Because the way I can see things, if we don't raise our voices, if you people don't help us, if the world doesn't want to hear us, we could lose every single thing we gained in the 20 years. So that's it. I'm working for an organization called the Afghan Women Skills Development Center. We are running shelters. I'm also doing some advocacy on another case, again with the Afghan women that they want to be reintegrated into the society and find a life after being in the shelters for so long. So these are the things that I'm involved with. And I worked with Maria Cremie and with Farida Negzad. I know them. And Marijana Cremie, we worked together, for a long time. So so here I am.
Great. So, I mean, this is something I'd love to, get into now for Mahbouba and Mary as well. You guys have both been involved in the peace process. Mary, you mentioned that the first was, I guess, the Bonn conference in the early aughts. And I would love to hear from you guys about how you first, what's changed with the process? It's, as you mentioned, been going on for so long. And could you just tell us a little bit about the moment we're in now? Why is it important? I mean, I won't ask such naff questions, why is it important that women participate in the peace process? But I'd love to hear about, how it's changed over time, and what is the significance of this particular moment for both of you?
You're asking the question first.
Yeah, maybe Mary, you might want to speak first, and then we can come back to you, Mahbouba.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Salam, Ustad.
Salam.
Just to, and in response to your questions, it is very interesting where we are. I think we cannot compare where we were 20 years before. We cannot compare. And the good thing is that today we are here. We are here through online right now. We are talking, we are sharing, we use different technologies. We are now talking or raising the voice of women, and we wanted to show to all that the women of Afghanistan, even though 20 years was not as a victim, but we were like locked in somewhere. But women had something, women of Afghanistan have before, even before 20 years, before 40 years, but now we wanted to be alongside with the women around the world to share, to change the world, to build the peace and unity around the world. But yes, we have a lot of challenges, difficulties, unfortunately, here still. The disappointing is that still sometimes when we see that from our international alliance, they could see us still like as a victim, and we have to still knock their doors, and we have to still push them and to tell them, look, we are here. There is not only 50 or 100 men, which was the entire of the war in Afghanistan for 40 years, that they were the one to lead. These are not the only people of Afghanistan, or we are also not the only women of Afghanistan. There is thousands of other women. There is a great movement of women of Afghanistan that women wanted to show to the world. Women of Afghanistan wanted to built their countries and wanted to play their role as a real peace builders. And yes, I wanted to say this much because I cannot compare where we were and now where we are. A huge difference, and that is the time that the woman should lead. The country women should be part of, that we don't want to wait and they should decide about us and they should tell us what should we do. And that is why we wanted to show again to the world, and we wanted to show to everyone that women of Afghanistan will never go back which we were locked before. And that is why, that is my message, that we wanted to go forward and we wanted to build our country. We wanted to play our role as responsible citizens and as real citizens of this country for promoting peace and unity in our country. Thank you.
Great. Mahbouba, would you like to add?
I would like to add something to this. Almost 20 years ago, when I came back to Afghanistan in 2003, which is close to 20, the world was getting the Afghan women ready in every sense of the word. In other words, they were helping them get educated, they were helping them learn skills, they were helping them find their voices, they were helping them to be at the forefront of any kind of a movement that Afghanistan will be or might be going through later on. 20 years later, and the world put a lot of money in, we worked very, very hard, the Afghan women and all of us. 20 years later, the same women that the world put so much effort in giving them their voice and making them be at the forefront and for them to be counted, today they are being ignored because today there is supposed to be a peace taking place. And for that peace, instead of again pushing these women, making sure that they have a voice and they have a place, a room at the tables, everywhere that the meetings are taking place, because they're all about peace. It's all about their future. Because right now they're facing the same people that the world fought, with them, which are the Taliban. Today we are going to be facing them. They're going to be coming and joining the government. So instead of making sure that all of these women, they have their rightful place and their voice at the conference tables, at the meetings, so their voice could be raised, and in turn, the voice of 50% of the population of this country could be heard. Today, they're putting a stop to that, and they're stopping us, and they're just marginalizing us as much as possible. And and if it was up to the world today, we were going to lose our voices, and we will have no room, no place in this new peace process that is coming. That is the irony in my mind.
No, I mean, I agree with you completely. And of course, an integral part of a democracy is journalism. And I would love to hear from you, Farida, about how you understand your work fitting into this, larger project of peace building and women's rights. I think you might still be muted.
Yeah,
Great.
sorry. Actually, if we see, you ask about the significance, the compute, the change, especially since fall of Taliban. I should say, of the fall of Taliban, it was the golden chance and golden time for women, especially for Afghan women, because as we see in terms of economic, politics, and social life, and every section, every field, Afghan women became changed, and they are as a leader, and they're leading different organizations, and the organization means government and non-governmental organizations. So we can say it was a really big chance for Afghan journalists, especially for women. We see this change because it was never seen in the history of Afghanistan that we should have more than 400, about 500 independent media organizations or media, independent media, include of newspaper, TV, radio, and other publications. So women journalists could also be as part of the society as a big change and work as a different part of this state. It means if we compare, during the Taliban, we had only one radio station, which was only all the national song of Taliban or something about the propaganda, about their everything like formality of their activities. But after that, we should accept that the biggest change and achievement in Afghanistan we have the new technology and also press freedom and the presence of media and women journalists in Afghanistan. This is a big achievement, and of course we have like a different sacrifice to reach this position. And we are thankful from the international community with the Afghanistan government that we come to this stage. And now, in terms of peace process, also Afghanistan media is a very important. They are playing a very important role in terms of the access to information. Unfortunately, they have problems. We can't have the first information from the process of negotiation in Doha. This is a big challenge, but they need to have this access because people need to know about their future, what's going on. We are mostly getting news from the second hand, which is giving much more concern to Afghanistan people. So this is something. And other part, the biggest issue, unfortunately, in the peace process, which we see, we are really concerning all journalists together and women, as a part of women, we women journalists, because there is no presence of any from delegation or either for the coverage. They are putting a very tight limitation for the presence of journalists and media activists as a delegation or either in coverage for the coverage. We are really concerned, and we are hoping that we should have a representative, a very active, that they should play a meaningful role to represent all Afghan journalists and especially women journalists, which is they're really concerning because one of the head of Taliban, one of the interview they say when they come to the power or be a part of the government, they will not allow women journalists to work as a journalist and especially in TV. So this is something like a very alarm for the future of women. And of course, if we slowly this lack of security and this targeted killing, of course, it affects on journalists. And it is the light from that concern because one side the negotiation of peace process, the other side the targeted attacks on the civil society activists and also women journalists. And only in 3 months we lost our 4 female journalists. One was our reporter and provincial representative. She was very active and really we are concerning regarding this peace process because we need to know what is going on. We need the peace to be for all, for a long time, for every people. It means everyone should see yourself in the peace and this negotiation. Of course, we appreciate any steps toward of peace, but we don't want the peace which will affect all of these achievements, which we get and achieve with the money sacrifice till now. So this is very important.
Yes, no, it's devastating, the personal sacrifices that people have had to make. I think maybe we'll go to Mary next, and I would love to actually hear from all of you, but maybe we'll begin with Mary. I'm quite curious about, regrettably, the West has played a big role in perhaps trying to shepherd, women's rights and peace process, and they are a stakeholder of sorts. And I was wondering, I'd love to hear from all of you, and again, beginning with Mary, what the West has done wrong in its efforts to, help Afghan women or help with the peace process and whatnot.
Actually, the question is very tricky, but I know they know what they have done wrong and what they have done right. But we appreciate the way that they come and they have invest and they have work in Afghanistan. We appreciate it. But the thing is that it comes when in a political analysis that when we see they just like count, or they just have like I don't know how to explain that, a special group, which this group was from the beginning, even from 40 years before, when the Russia was here, they were part of that. When they left, Russian has left Afghanistan, they were part of that. When the civil war was, they were part of that. I didn't see any difference between like who is Talib, who is Mujahid, who is Daesh, who is. These people were supported by, unfortunately, I don't call it like which international, but they were supported. Because right now we could see the way that they have put a red carpet for the Taliban and they wanted to bring them back. That is very clear, like they know like where is their mistake. Because when it comes to this kind of questions comes to mind of everyone. I mean, as a small child of Afghanistan will ask, and what was the reason 20 years before that they have fight to end terrorism? And now they wanted to put like a red carpet for them. And yes, we want peace. We want that they should join and they should come, but not the way that we have give everything with two hands to them. And that we just ignore the entire nation. We just ignore the entire investment which was done. And when we talk about achievements, we have paid a huge price for that. And that was the people, that was the women of Afghanistan. When we talk about women's rights, just recently, during the last 3-4 months, lost a lot of young or very talented women have lost their lives. Like to lose our fathers, our brothers, and our husbands. Now we are going to lose our sons, and that is their big mistake from the beginning. That we want women of Afghanistan, as I said before, like women of Afghanistan could play their role as a real change makers, not as a victims. And it's still that they wanted to see to us as a victim, and they didn't give that opportunity to the women of Afghanistan that they should play their role. And they wanted to bring, like, for example, right now that they have designed something like a new government. They have prepared everything and has just wanted to give to us. And it's very like strange. Why you guys are work and invest millions of dollars for promoting democracy, for promoting women's rights, and now you are going to promoting like Islamic Sharia law? We are a Muslim country. We are 100 years before we were Muslims, and we are Muslims. We are proud Muslims. We are proud Afghan. We are proud Muslims. There is no need that someone come and teach us right now the new Islam's what they are thinking. That is their mistakes of international community. They cannot analyze, and they don't know what they are doing right now. And we don't allow them that they should repeat their mistakes again. And people of Afghanistan is too fed up, and enough is enough for Afghanistan. And that's why that before they do their mistakes, they must to review their new strategy, new policy, what they are doing. That's why that we want that they should share and have close consultation with the women of Afghanistan. They must to hear to the women of Afghanistan. They must to listen to the youth of Afghanistan. And that is, if they didn't, that is their big mistakes that during the last 20 years when they believe has, that they have invested this much amount, which we cannot count it, like how many zero had that, which we don't know because most of that, but now we again believe on that they are investing that much amount for peace, which we are not part of that. Sorry, I don't want to be emotional, but it's very clear, but I urge and I request that international community that they shouldn't repeat their mistakes. They should count on the people of Afghanistan, they should count on the women of Afghanistan, and they should also appreciate the achievements that they have invested and they have worked during these years, and they must to respect that.
It's very clear you care so much about this issue. Thank you for sharing so candidly. Mahbooba, would you like to go next?
Yes, I don't think I can top what Morijan said because that was mostly what we all are going to say. I have a feeling, but before when you ask the question, which are the ways that the international community has gone wrong on this, I was just going to ask you, let me count the ways, because it's like not one or two. I mean, there's God only knows how many of them. So it's like really it's pretty amazing. For example, right now with the letters that we're receiving from the Biden administration and from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the United States and going through this whole process, each one of them, they have these suggestions. And the weirdest thing is that all of this, soul searching, all of these suggestions, all of these different ways that has been recommended to us should have been done 2 years ago, or at least a year ago, before all of that agreement with the Taliban was signed. Somebody should have done that, because I don't even know why they thought that they could actually enter an agreement. I mean, the most powerful country in the world that we are forever grateful to them for everything that they have done. But come on, can you imagine going into a whole agreement with one side of the party and then not thinking about any one of these steps, I mean, any one of these suggestions that they're making right now, and then making an agreement with them, and then making the government of Afghanistan very grateful that the Taliban are accepting to talk to them and sit at the table. I mean, there are some jokes in there, honestly. Sitting at the table and then going through the whole process. And those guys, they didn't even for the I don't know, 3 months or whatever that they were sitting together in Doha, they did not move 1 inch, the Taliban. They just talked about how they should talk. They never went one step further. All of that. And then now it's all a dictation that comes to a sovereign country, an ally. We are allies, for God's sakes, to the United States. This comes as a, this is what you should do, 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 starting with Islam. I mean, we have to start making ourselves, how shall I say, Islamizing ourselves or whatever. I don't get it. As Morijan said, we are an Islamic country. We were an Islamic country, and we shall be an Islamic country. But we are a lot more than that. We are a democratic nation. We are a young nation. We are a very feisty nation. We are a very, how shall I say, we are a very curious nation. We want to take part in the world. We are a very rich nation. What we have underneath our grounds are absolutely rare in the world. We want to take all of that and make it possible for our people to have a proper life in this country. We don't want to die of hunger. It's not good for us to die of hunger. So this is all of the things that we need to have. But I don't understand it. I don't understand how come this has never been thought of properly. And now this is all of the orders are coming from left and right and telling us what to do. And honestly, the disappointment that I'm sure the people of this country feel about the Biden administration not really looking into this whole agreement very, very carefully before coming up with any kind of a solution is really disheartening. It really is. But this is the way apparently the world's politics do work. And then the other strangest thing is that the men that you're suggesting we should be working with them, or as Marie-Jeanne said, the same men, the same faces, the same people that we have been dealing with for the past God knows how long. And we are stuck. Get us out of this quagmire. We've had enough. We should start something new, something fresh, something tangible, something that we could talk about, we could discuss, we could not at the level of one being so high and one being so low, but at an equal footing. So we could actually achieve something. There should be some give and takes, but this is. I'm sorry. I'm just absolutely baffled. I really am. Thank you.
But you make such a good point that something that I feel, I mean, yes, Westerners make many mistakes, but one common mistake I think people make is that they forget that Afghans are humans too. They too want to live and not die, and be able to send their kids to school and not worry about them. And I think that very universal basic fact is often lost on people. But anyways, thank you for sharing.
For example, they're asking for a ceasefire until the end of May. Why until the end of May? Because it's by then that the American soldiers are going to leave Afghanistan. It's like, sweetheart, that is wonderful you're doing that. What about my soldiers? What about our soldiers? What about our people? What about, they have been killed and dying since this whole thing started. So what about them? If we don't look at the world as our universe, as the of every human being that has a room in it and wants to take part in it, we are going to lose. This is I'm not going to be even alive to say, didn't I tell you? But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in this world that will turn around and say, didn't I say so? But this is exactly what is going on, and I still can't believe it.
Frida, would you like to add anything? I'm sure you have much to say. Oh no, yeah, good.
Thank you. سلام ساجان خان و مرجان عزیز، دوباره سلام به عزیزان میبوسمتان بعد از دیر وقت. Sorry, I just say hello because after a long time we just meet each other. Actually, yes, we expected by the support of international, we come to this stage, we will much more change and we will have much more opportunities. Unfortunately, those international communities and countries, especially those sponsor or are committed countries, it's really they are committed for the human rights and especially for women's rights. They are in many conferences. The priority issue was that women's rights should be granted. Unfortunately, now we see that these expectations getting very it means take us very back. And instead we go progress, and now we should worry about our future, that they want to get us back, and women will not go back, because we were expected, especially for the new administration of United States, Mr. Joe Biden, that because we women don't have a specific address that should really guarantee our presence and our rights, and especially these achievements of values that I before mentioned, how we are really once again experience the new elements by the name of Islam. This is an Islamic country. We are Muslim. The definition of Islam is something different. Everyone want to bring their definitions according their idea. But the things we know since we're born in an Islamic country, every element of Islam, we know what we are doing. See, we are not something opposite of the Islam. If we are working in Islamic country, of course, we respect all the elements of the Islam. The issue is something that really we really concerned when we are saying 50% of the community is women. How those people, which is drafting something for the future of our country or Afghanistan, they are ignoring women. How they are satisfied with themselves, with the country coming together, they forget about Afghanistan women which were committed and they support. Today, we have brilliant women, activists, politicians. None of them are involved or without any consultation, at least any comments from women, just draft something and put on the table through to the government. This is really dangerous. This is really concerning for the future of especially women, which is really 50% of the country. They are in a position that they thinking what will happen. But nowadays, the women or Afghan women are not those that 20 years before they were. In the dark period of Taliban, now everyone educated, everyone fighted, everyone they knows how they should defend from their rights and from other rights, how we should have solidarity to have one voice to protect and support each other in a such situation. The biggest issue I want to just point it, we expected that there should be at the beginning of the negotiation, and especially the agreement between the Taliban and also United States of America, the very important thing was that they should come to the point to long-term ceasefire. Since this agreement signed, none of Afghan people see the good day or the best way, the hope. Everyone is hopeless. Civilians lost their lives in this way. Why? If we have this process, those international community, they fight for the terrorists, and today again, they invest, as Marijan says, they invest $1 billion in Afghanistan. Why? Their basis was in 21 provinces. Or they want to rebuild these bases, or what? Because why at the beginning, without logic, did they take decision that they should withdraw their troops from Afghanistan? When they come, 42 countries come together to fight against terrorists. We are still suffer from the terrorism they are going without thinking that what will happen with the future of women, children, or civilians, or at least the nation of Afghanistan. This is very important. We should logically decide, and we should see that why we are putting the pressure on Afghanistan to bring them again in a situation that everyone will be confused. As Mr. Saraj and Marie mentioned, for the past 20 years, not for the 40 years, The circle is going on. Every regime coming, they all they are involved in this leadership.
There's a real sense of history repeating itself, I think.
Yes, and now it's the next.
Yeah,
I believe, and the next there will be also. So why we are not sitting logically? Why we should not consulting these women, these brave women? They really suffer. They're now something.
We now have 9 minutes left, and so what I'm going to do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to hopefully, a final question, and maybe we can take turns. Maybe like 2 or 3 minutes each. And I mean, I have so many questions that I'm regrettably not being able to, get through because we're running out of time. But I'd love to know either. You can choose your own adventure. One is you can tell us about the largest challenge that you faced in your work, or a common misconception that you hear about Afghanistan or the peace process or women's participation in the peace process, or something else you would like to leave the listeners with. So those are the 3 questions that you're welcome to choose from. And if you'd like to answer all, that's fine too, but you do have 2 or 3 minutes each. And we'll begin with Mary.
Thank you so much. I think for the first questions regarding what sort of concern, the biggest concern, like bringing back Taliban with to give them all the platform, that is a real concern for all of us. And ignoring women, it's a real concern. But for me, as my learning, activism, like I have learned like the activism or the woman movement was not something was done by big groups. It was done like by one, then second, then. That is now. We women in Afghanistan, we are at frontline. We are continuing to our struggle, but we really want to have this recognition by our international community to stand with us. And especially I want to call on women that they believe on movement, and they shouldn't leave or they shouldn't forget women of Afghanistan, because right now, when we fight for our rights, when we struggle for the rights of people, but there is no system, there is no mechanism for how to provide protection for the women human rights defenders, because security is one of the biggest challenge. You have seen like during the last few months that there was a direct attack on women activists, on journalists, and this is really make us, it's annoying, and there is all women have this concern. And I think for us, yes, the situation is getting bad, we know, but we wanted to at least that we should know like who is beside us. As we believe on the promoting human rights, that is my belief, and I know like you and others, we want like those friends should be with us, because we wanted to not only struggle for the rights of women or for the rights of people of Afghanistan, we wanted to really fight for the rights of all the world. If we live like this, Afghanistan to become ground of the tourism, or everyone comes and be in power, and they use their power against, and there will be a direct threat for everyone, for all the world. And that is now, we really want to call on all our international alliance, and particularly on the women, that do not forget women of Afghanistan, as we are stand in our position, and we never give up. That is our commitment. That is our, that's our message, that Afghan women will not go back, but we really want our friends to be with us in this struggle.
Thank you so much for that. Mahbouba, would you like to go next?
Thank you. Our the biggest challenge at this point, it really is that, we understand that, we all want peace, and always peace after a situation like this one in Afghanistan comes with a price. We all know that too. But the one thing that really is a big challenge now at this point is the fact that because of the way the world gave in to Taliban, or because of the fact that they made them so important, and now the Taliban and the Afghan government, and the people are not playing from the same fields. They believe they are in a much better or higher or more important position. So they think that they can dictate what they want to the people of Afghanistan. That to me, it's a huge challenge. Because, if we want to, the government, if there's a government that needs to be shared, not to be dictated to us. So this is a challenge. That is something that, unfortunately, is what we created. So that's what the world created. The misconception in my mind is that the Taliban have changed. Huge misconception. Taliban have not changed. Taliban cannot change. Why they cannot change is because they don't have any access nor any way of living in life to change for a large group of them. So that's why they haven't changed. They are the same. They will always be the same because that is their power. I mean, the ones that are controlling all of the fighters of the Taliban, that's their power. So that's how they can make them go to war and fight for them. My other concern at this point right now is that, okay, we are where we are. These are realities of life, unfortunately, and we are the ones that we have to fight for it. But I wish the women of the world could stand next to us, behind us, support us in a big way to make sure that we do take our place at the negotiation tables, not as a token, not as a little, this poor little lady that is just sitting there and just going, woo, woo, woo. No, we want to be there, raise our voices, say what we need to, and our voices to be heard. That's what we want, really. Because, life is their facts, and what we are entering right now, it's a fact. I wish they could let us be prepared for it. I wish they could give us the weapons that we need. I wish, or have the proper attire that we need for this whole whatever thing that is going to be coming. But if they sent us out like that with no woman, no youth, no people, and sitting at those meetings, those conference tables, and just a few people from the government and a few people from the Taliban and international community, this peace is doomed.
Thank you so much for that. Farida, would you like to have the last word? You have 2 minutes. Oh, and again, you need to unmute yourself. Great.
Yes, actually, I repeat it because we concern as a journalist for our future and for the achievement. We should have the grantee in a peace process. The negotiation is simply even without this concept or the other. There is no guarantee for the presence of women in any field on any section, but especially for the press freedom, for the women as journalists, for the media, free media. And these all values and achievements should be kept and continue in the future. The most important we ask, and I call from the international community, especially from United States of America, new administration of Mr. Biden, that they should not ignore and they should not forget women, which they gave some commitment for our support, and now they want to leave us alone. They should. And the last one, we are looking for the long-term ceasefire. This is the only way all Afghan people will believe this, because as Mr. Saror said, Afghanistan people can't believe that there should be this negotiation. Since they start this negotiation and sign this peace agreement with America, the violence against all civilians getting worse and worse day by day, and we are sacrificed. So we are suffering, but we are not stopping. we are working for the solidarity. We are working for the supporting of all Afghan women. Not only women. We are struggle for all Afghanistan people. So this is very important. They should not. And I'm calling from here for those international organizations specific working for protection of journalists and women journalists, like RSF, Reporters Without Borders, as a committee to protect journalists and lawyers, like IFT, International Federation of Journalists. Why they are quiet? Why they are not putting pressure on these situations to get at least some solution? That we are hope that things should get better, but in peace, we want to see ourselves, not without without us, peace will be not complete and not will be for the long term, not meaningful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. I think the message is quite clear. We mustn't forget Afghan women. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much to the panelists, Frida, Mary, and Mahbouba. I learned so much, and I'm certain the listeners did as well. I've been taking notes while you've been speaking. So thank you so much for making time for this. Very grateful to you. And I think with that, the panel is over and you're all free to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Bye.
you. It was nice meeting.
Thank you
so
for
much.
moderating. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Marijan, Ustad, Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you so much to the Raptor Foundation for hosting. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, friends of Rafa Foundation.
Khuda Hafiz.